Once this project had been completed, we realized the need of adding a short introduction. This video is very brief and from the technical point of view also very limited. With what might appear to be thoughtlessness, we have touched upon matters that reach into the unfathomable depths of human knowledge. Matters that merit more time and other modes of expression. However, in the past, much was suggested through a concealed alchemy. This said, we may acknowledge, with a touch of irony, that what is offered is in truth a publicity spot on the point. From the point of light, within the divine mind. In this video, an attempt will be made to present very briefly and as best as possible the characteristics of the point and how it molds geometry. The subject is one of the highest degree and touches the very roots of the human consciousness. Everything has its origin in the point, which, we are taught, has no dimensions. An infinite number of points creates a straight line, which must also be considered infinite. To consider forms generated by an infinite number of points as finite is the fatal error of our current materialism, and which is now in its death throes. The point is infinite, and it is a living entity, and so are also the geometrical figures that it generates. The point is, in truth, space, that supreme entity which contains everything and which generates everything. The point is one, and the three in one, but it is also septenary, composed of 7 sounds and 7 colors, or rather of 7 energies. Beginning with Euclid's definition of the point, reinterpreted and presented in a new light, this is what we will attempt to illustrate. A point is that which has no parts. It extends infinitely and is one. The point is one and is infinity. The point is space. The point is Genesis, life which multiplies and reproduces itself. Sound, space, light. One, infinite, life, space. The point. Life expresses itself through duality, active, passive, masculine, feminine, positive, negative, etc. Also the point, therefore, has a twin-pole nature. A center and a periphery may be distinguished within it, and which define its magnetic field of influence. The center is the positive, radiating and pulsating aspect. It is the one, the sound, or the word, the will. It is the Father. The periphery is the negative, undulating and continuous aspect. It is the two, space, love. It is the Mother. This is the origin of bisexuality, or omnipresent duality. The rays from the center impact the field, which oscillates in response. The union between the center and the field, between the ray and the wave, ignites the light of creation. The three. The sun. Light, being generated by the Father and the Mother, fire and space, is both the ray and the wave. It is both corpuscular and undulatory in nature, exactly as is taught by science. The point, the origin of all, is the one and the three in one. The Trinity is a concept which may be found at the base of every religion and every philosophy. The point, the synthesis of will, love and light, is that which we call God. By their very nature, the centers are isolated and dominant. The fields are adjacent and receptive. When we raise our eyes to the starry night sky, what we see are the centers, and each of these centers has a field which is invisible to the eye. Wherever we cast our gaze, we see centers and fields, arranged according to infinite hierarchies. A solar system, a planet, a man, an atom, all centers with their relative fields. In the infinite, everything is in contact. Because it is limitless, it does not tolerate separation. It eliminates distances and quantities. Where, in fact, are the boundaries of the point? Looking at a star means activating contact with it, a contact which potentially already exists. An energy flow is sparked by that act, and by virtue of which a fragment of the star descends upon us, and a part of us reaches up to that majestic entity. Even at the physical level, its light is impressed upon the retina, transmitted to the brain and heart, causing a lifting effect on us. Without distance, without time, without separation. A single thought is sufficient to link the pupil to the master. We should reflect intensely on this truth. There are no divisions and no barriers. Every center is in contact with all the others. Here, now, as we speak, each one of us is connected, the one to the other. With just a thought, we can send help to wherever it may be needed. With just a thought, we can direct currents of love and light. Impacted in this way, the surrounding space propagates the energies received in the form of waves. Thus we discover that a straight line comprised of an infinite number of points is, in fact, a direction. That it lives. It could be thick or it could be thin, and it has no limits. In space, therefore, infinite directions exist. Imagine two centers that enter consciously in contact with each other. They create a channel of energy which is a line and which is infinite. And two people who look at each other ignite a conduit along which flows the energies of the respective sources. The intervention now of a third center will define a field qualifying the area within it and creating a geometrical form impregnated with the quality of the number 3. The importance of the triad is universally acknowledged as being amongst the greatest and most sacred. When the Master advises his disciples to form triangles, they create, through the power of their thought, sacred geometry. No distance obstructs, and the relationships formed in this way modify space incessantly. Four centers form the square, considered to be the origin of form. It is the stronghold, the foundation stone, the geometrical form which portrays the earth in opposition to the heavens, which is the circle. The intervention of yet another center gives origin to the five-pointed star, which manifests the power to create. It expresses the capacity that form has in multiplying itself, remaining, however, equal to itself, a geometry to which, as men, we are firmly bound. Six centers form a hexagon, or a six-pointed star, a renowned symbol, also called the Star of David or King Solomon's seal. The six-pointed star, composed of two triangles, is directly related to the number 3, and its qualities are saturated with the properties of that number. Even through just these few examples, we may easily imagine the infinite number of relationships which continuously connect all centers. The geometrical figures thus formed have magnetic fields, charged with energy and tension, capable of conducting beauty and emotion. Since they have life, they infuse all surrounding space with their qualities. It is a geometry that we might define Pythagorean and which we might rename psychogeometry. The triangle, the square, the hexagon are all worlds with their own life and consciousness. As with all forms, they occur continually and everywhere on both the subjective and objective planes by virtue of those invisible circles traced out by a planet as it follows its orbit in the heavens, right down to our own simple and daily gestures. Each time we draw a square in the sand or on a piece of paper, we perform a magical act. We divide space into two infinitudes, one outside of the square, the other within it. In so doing, we impress on that portion of space qualities which it previously did not possess, and which, in this example, are the qualities of the square and of the number 4. Due to this simple operation, we may in fact imagine that the area within the square changes color. That perimeter, be it as evident as a wall or a furrow in the sand, or invisible as in the orbit of a planet, qualifies space, or, in other words, bestows on that space the qualities both of the form created and of its creator. Every geometrical form is a living entity, and not just a simple collection of vertexes and sides without life, purpose, and effects. The magic circle traced out by witches in their sorcery comes into mind here. Nothing can happen to whoever takes shelter inside the circle, which in terms of energy distinguishes a within from a without. These are matters that have a profound impact upon us. It is not just metaphysical speculation. Let's try to imagine living in a room that is the usual rectangle or square, as opposed to one that is round or even triangular. We would find ourselves perplexed by the effect that they may have upon us. The form's influence, because it is living, is real and effective. We could even go as far as recognizing geometry as being the vibrational field of numbers. This means that it is capable of evoking resonance in other forms that are tuned to the same number. 5 constitutes the sides of the pentagon, but the same energy resounds in the corolla of a flower composed of 5 petals, or in the fingers of the hand. Silently, passing unnoticed, we arrive at the ancient Pythagorean doctrine, where everything exists by virtue of numbers, and nothing exists that is not produced by them. The number is that supreme power to be found at the root of geometry and arithmetic, from which all other sciences, major or minor, descend. Numbers are creative and living powers. On this threshold, for the moment, we could pause and withdraw. The strings of sensitive hearts will vibrate to a thought of this nature, even with just a gentle pluck. When we realize that reality is a world of relationships, it becomes necessary to ensure that every relationship produces harmony. A future project will therefore be dedicated to sound, universally recognized as the creative agent. The study of its laws has always guided humanity in the learning of that supreme science, the art of construction. It is a well-known fact that the uncontested beauty of the great architectural structures of the past has a solid basis in the use of certain relationships, golden and harmonic, as is the case of the pyramids, the Parthenon, and the great Gothic cathedrals. The point is alive. This we may reaffirm, and it creates other, living, geometrical forms, from the simplest to the most complex, and which have both purpose and effect. The time has come in which humanity is realizing that it lives immersed in geometrical forms, created by the movement of the planets. Their rotation leads us to the discovery of cyclic time. Cycles wove the causes which have formed our past, and they lay our future. It is time that man once again raises his eyes to the heavens, which is his true abode. May the power of the seventh energy restore the plan on earth.